Hello, 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 thriving friends. It's another beautiful day. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Thriving Lesson with Dr. G, but we have this special edition coming your way on a Wednesday morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are around the world. Thank you all so much for making time for this. We need to learn about workplace stress, and we have an expert with us. So we couldn't wait. We just couldn't wait till Friday. So thank you so much for joining, friends. Wherever you are, hop on. And when you get here, as usual, share the link. Let people know that we are on. So I'm going to take my 30 seconds, look around, make sure that I'm streaming live. When you get here, please say hello, please say hi, please let us know where you are joining us from, and then let's get going. So I'm going ahead. I see that I'm live on Facebook. I try to avoid checking YouTube. YouTube will always interfere with my stream. So I will not check when I'm using just one screen. But if you're on YouTube, please say hello, okay? So that we know that you are on. Let's see. Mm. All right, it looks good from LinkedIn, unless it's just from my site. If you get here, just say hello. Then we can go on. So I am going to share my link to my people. Like, hey, come on, let's learn. It's time. Ooh, YouTube looks good. Yay. Thank you, Efia, for joining from YouTube. If you can hear me good, say, I can hear you good. All right, let me copy this link and send it to my mother and father, okay? Please don't judge me. Yes, I'm sending it to my parents, okay? They should join. They still work, so they need to learn how to distress. Come on. Uh-oh, I sent it to the wrong link. Goodness. Forgive me, okay? All right. So, thank you for joining, Sarah. I'll go ahead and share the link with everybody. Tell them we are online. They should all come and join us. We are learning how to thrive. We are learning how to thrive. We are learning how to thrive. I think I should have my own album. I could sing, right? All right, looks good from my end, so we can get started. Let me close this one. Okay, beautiful. So thank you all once again for joining. May is a Mental Health Awareness Month. If you haven't even been taking your care of yourself, this is it. This is the month where you need to pause and see how things are going in your life. So I'm going ahead to introduce the day. All right. We are streaming on multiple platforms wherever you are joining us from. Thank you so much for joining. On Facebook, we are on multiple platforms. We are on 4 Star Radio and TV. We are on LinkedIn. LinkedIn will be my personal page. We are on YouTube. We are on Twitter. And this is my LinkedIn page. If you're on LinkedIn, please try and connect. Let's connect and, see how we can move on professionally. This is for Facebook, Thrive with Doc G. The thing is that wherever you are, it's just at Thrive with Doc G. So just connect, look for us. They will give you multiple options, either to support, to subscribe, to share, to like, to follow. Whatever option is given to you, please take it and support us accordingly, okay? All right, I'm so excited for us to get started today. Today we have our special guest with us. I am super excited. Michael is a licensed social worker. He's a coordinator of multicultural outreach. I also know him as an advocate for mental health. He has his private practice with his wife. They do wonderful things together. So I'll bring my guest on and then we are going to just get started. So, friends, welcome once again. Hey, Michael.
Good morning. How's it going?
Oh, it's wonderful out here. Yourself?
Hey, can't complain. It's a beautiful day. The weather's nice. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. So, what else is there?
I don't know. We are just excited to be alive, right? All right. So please go ahead, introduce yourself to our friends. We are just the Thriving Friends. We meet every week, learning how to thrive in all areas of our lives. So we have different topics we discuss. Our goal is to live holistically. So all the dimensions of health and wellness, we try to explore them. And since this is Mental Health Awareness Month, we are just going to learn different things that can help us thrive mentally and emotionally. Okay. So go ahead, introduce yourself to the Thriving Friends, and let's get the discussion going.
Perfect. My name is Michael Whiteside. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I am coming to you on behalf of Reclaiming Royalty. So, we are a wellness collective entity, and the whole purpose of that is we are wellness consultants. So, we provide individual mental health therapy. We also provide workshops and trainings that really focus on bringing this holistic wellness approach right to your entity, right to the community, and really making mental health a more normalized conversation. We also do consulting work for agencies that want to become more mentally aware and mentally sound and really start shifting in this holistic wellness, especially when it comes to employee burnout, employee satisfaction, engagement. So that is a little bit about us. And of course, we do motivational speaking. You can check any of our social media platforms. And we love, love, love reaching out to the community and just really making mental health a very normal conversation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you once again, Michael. So I am super, super excited because at this point in my life, I'm not ashamed to say that I'm stressed. I am really, really stressed. And when it comes to stress, I don't know if we should look at stress as a negative thing or as a positive thing. So can you help us understand in general what is stress?
Absolutely. So if you go to perfect, my first slide, what is stress? So when a lot of people think about stress, they immediately think about what is called distress. So that's
Okay.
more of the negative stress. But one of the definitions that I really like, which is from Merriam-Webster, is it is just simply a constraining force or influence. So when you think about that, think about it as this response to whatever is going around in your community, whatever is going around in your environment, your personal life. Oftentimes it's connected to situations of uncertainty. So you'll hear me talk today a lot about anxiety, depression, and basically the simple definitions that I want to provide is anxiety just means you're in a condition of uncertainty.
Mm,
Things feel really overwhelming because we don't know how to process the challenge in front of us. And then stress is your subjective response to being in this condition of uncertainty. So if you
mm,
think about how am I going to meet this need? How am I going to meet this deadline? How am I going to accomplish whatever it is I need to accomplish? And then that influences or incorporates certain influences such as your expectations of yourself, expectations of others, expectations that you feel like other people have of you, trauma, all those things come together and really influence how do we respond to being in this condition of uncertainty.
okay, since you started talking about the types of stress, I think you should just go ahead and let us know the types.
For sure. So ideally, we have what is called eustress. So
Mm,
think about that as the motivation. It is the helpful reactions that really push us towards our goals. If you think about like test prep, meeting a deadline, any of those things that really say, hey, you have something on your to-do list and we need to be productive today. So that's the helpful stress. If you think about being in a sports game, you're hyped up, you're ready to go. That feeling, that
mm,
adrenaline is also a form of stress, but we don't call it that. Believe it or not, that is the constraining force because it's pushing you to take action. It's literally giving a fight or flight response, but in a way that is more productive and healthy and helpful. Now, distress, think about that more as the distraction. So, this
mhm.
is commonly what we think about. It's that overwhelming uncertainty. It's that, again, response to being in this condition of uncertainty. It's going to keep coming back to anxiety. And then when we begin to feel hopeless that we won't be able to get out of this condition of uncertainty, believe it or not, at a fundamental level, that's where depression happens.
Mm. So you want to say that depression can be like a result of distress, the
Mhm.
bad type of stress.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I like to keep it very, very, very mundane and just be honest, right? Like let's throw out all the extra clinical jargon and just keep it real.
Okay.
So when you have that distracted functioning, so exploring more of the distress, that's really the anxiety. Again, anxiety is what? Being in this condition of uncertainty where you're not able to process the challenge in front of you.
Okay.
So a lot of times that can be anger. That can also be frustration. Why? It is all about the uncertainty of how a certain need is going to be met,
I see.
or where does this person who has the capacity to meet this need, where are they in regards to meeting a need? So if you think about the last time somebody got into an argument, what do people typically yell out? You don't care about me. You
Mm,
never liked me anyway. You don't love me.
mm-hmm.
Well, if you listen to the undertone, believe it or not, that is a form of anxiety.
Mm.
I'm uncertain about that. And so when you take that to the workplace, think about the relationship between the employer and the employee.
Yeah.
Mirrors a lot of that parent child relationship or even that sibling relationship. How does this person who I believe has the capacity to take care of me, who I'm looking to for guidance, who I'm looking to for protection, who I'm looking to provide all of these very nourishing attributes to my life,
Mm-hmm. I
but
see.
they're not.
All right. So you have something called stress in context. How are we going to put stress in context?
Mhm. So if you think about the stress, if we put it back in context in terms of going back to this idea of it's uncertain, all we
Okay.
have to really do is take what's uncertain and make it certain. Let's basically clear up all the confusion and let's make things more organized or reorganized, which is all of really what I do in therapy.
I
So figure out how to get back to this unmet need and
mm,
figure out what things are going to be necessary to meet that need.
okay. Okay. So is that what redefining stress is like? Redefining it. Let's repackage it. What can we do to make what seemed to be negative reflect in the positive sides of our life?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So think about stress as a natural response. All it is simply a communication between your mind,
Mm-hmm.
body, and your conscious awareness, meaning that it is just your body talking to you. It's literally the same concept as having a friend who's physically with you saying, "Hey, did you see that? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
did you notice that?" We just have to figure out, okay, what is being said to us? So what is being communicated? What is the unmet need? What are the things that maybe cause us fear or cause us some sort of anxiety, uncertainty? If it's trauma, it's a mutated perception. If it's depression, it's that feeling of hopelessness and feeling stuck. So really getting to the core of what's going on. And then in terms of workplace, what's happening in my workplace that might re-traumatize me, might mirror some sort of broken relationship with a parent or early caregiver, and how does this affect the way that I see myself, what
Mm-hmm.
identities I'm trying to maintain, and overall, how do I fit within this scope of what does it truly mean to be in the workplace?
Yeah. Yeah. So last week we were looking at this image and we are talking about how most of us have like a mask ahead of us in our faces. We are smiling, we are walking around, and people think, oh, all is well with this person. But deep down, we are really, really struggling. Can
Mhm.
you give us some practical tips, right? How do you manage your stress? You have a boss. You can't just we need the money too, right? We
Mhm.
definitely do need money to get things sorted out in our lives. So we can just say that, okay, I'm too stressed, I'm not working anymore. Where can we find that balance? It looks like I have two questions in one. But my whole thing is practical steps to get out of this pretend stage to the thriving stage.
Mhm. The first thing I'll say is normalize how you feel, identify how you feel. The first
Yeah.
thing a lot of us skip to do is we don't even think about how do we feel. So with the stress, what direction is it leading you? Is it
Mm,
leading you towards anger? Is it leading you towards frustration, which is
mm,
anger now also mixed with the anxiety of what's going to happen next? Is it
mm,
leading you towards more of a depressive where you feel hopeless? Or is it leading you more towards just simply confusion? How
mm.
are you feeling? And then normalize that. After you normalize that, you got to validate it. The worst thing you can ever do is invalidate yourself or say the key phrase, I'm sure you've heard it, oh, I'm just crazy, or oh, they're just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a thing of a guilt. I find
Mhm.
myself then I don't want to acknowledge that I'm struggling. Like, no, just it's just me struggling. It's just me. Nobody will understand. Okay, so I get that point. And then what else can we do practically?
Mhm.
Other ideas?
Absolutely. After you normalize it and validate yourself, you want to begin to reframe some of those anxious thoughts. Meaning, let's take what is actually stressing you out and let's
Mm,
identify what are the specific aspects. How do those aspects identify and connect to past experiences? If you're
mm,
nervous about being rejected or being negatively evaluated, how does that now parallel with, oh, I'm afraid of being evaluated at the end of the year, or I'm afraid of talking to my boss and asking?
mm,
Maybe something happened in the past. So if you can find what happened in the past and how does this connect, Now we can take that stress that's happening in the present and put it back in context, meaning you are not the same as you were in your childlike state. So your
Right.
inner child is now activated and overwhelmed. And now the adult version of you has to figure out, am I going to give into these unconscious oftentimes needs, or
Mm,
am I going to separate what's going on in the present from what's happened in the past? Once
mm,
you reframe, then you can identify, okay, what plan do I want? What things, what goals do I have? What direction do I want to go? And then ultimately validate that, identify resources, and then begin to put that plan into action. In real time, you can simply take a deep breath,
yeah.
be present.
Be present. I love that. Let's take a moment to acknowledge some thriving friends in the house. We have Isaac in the house. Hi, Isaac. Thank you so much for joining. We have Uncle Sam. Dr. Sam, good day. Good day. I don't know where you are that you're already having a day. We are please enjoying the morning. Okay. And then we have Kofi also watching. Thank you so much for joining. Please don't just watch, like the video and share with your network. Let them know that we are here, we are learning, and we want to thrive together. Okay. And Dr. AC is in the house. Hi, Dr. AC. Thank you so much for joining. And let your questions start flowing. I think it's funny when you get online, you don't realize, but it's already 16 minutes into the streaming. So please let the questions start coming and we will be happy to respond for you. So I am really not the expert here. You are the expert, okay? I try to avoid anything that has to do with depression and anxiety because I feel like it's clinical. I am
Mhm.
a wellness advocate, and I don't think that it's my place to talk about depression and anxiety, but we hear it a lot, and people are not sure what to do about it. But before we get there, I think that there's a beautiful question that just came in. Afia said, at what stage do I ask for help? So maybe that can help you get into the depression and anxiety. And Lady Ellie is also in the house from LinkedIn. Hi, Lady Ellie. Please connect with each other on LinkedIn. We are all thriving friends. And at this point, I know everybody on right now. So it's my family and friends, I know, and a few colleagues. So just connect with each other. If you are not friends on LinkedIn, connect. We can learn from each other professionally too. All right, so let's go back to Efia's question. At what point do we ask for help? And maybe you can use the opportunity to get into depression and
Mhm.
anxiety.
So I like to think about this as a twofold. The simple answer is anytime. Anytime you start to feel or start to question your own ability, best time to ask for help. Because we have to realize that help is on a spectrum. Help
Okay.
doesn't always mean that it's an emergency, right? You wouldn't go to the ER if you have a paper cut, but if you're at school or if you're at work, you may grab a band-aid. That band-aid is still just as much help. It's a
Okay.
matter of what type of need. In terms of dysfunction, or if you have a disorder, you want to think about, okay, how is this impacting my life? And when it begins to impact your life, even to the smallest bit, where it's starting to hinder the way that you function or the way that you manage relationships, I will start talking or considering talking to a therapist. And
Okay.
there's group therapy, there's individual therapy, there's workshops and trainings. We provide plenty. So you don't always have to necessarily do it individually or by yourself if you're a little nervous or concerned of just opening up to another person.
Mm, I love that you said help is relative. Maybe my help will be just rested.
Hmm.
It's like today I am done. I just can't anymore. Somebody take these kids. I'm just done. Okay. Or you just go to your supervisors like, I just need some extension on this work,
Hmm.
and someone will just be fine and will wait till the end of the month or the end of the school year to rest. But yeah, know yourself and just ask for help when you think you need help. I like that. I like that a lot. So now let's get back into the depression and anxiety.
Hmm. So depression, and again, these are going to be very fundamental, base level. Depression just simply means that I'm in this condition of uncertainty and I'm beginning to lose hope that I'll be able to get out of this condition of uncertainty.
Okay.
Many times, a lot of us feel stuck, which is why you feel tired, you feel drained. A lot of those physical symptoms will come. And oftentimes, these symptoms are so heavy. So, all of us can have a depressive state, meaning that we begin to feel sad, we begin to feel stuck. but eventually we're able to cognitively or emotionally get out of that position.
Mm.
Now, depression becomes clinical when this overwhelming feeling of not being able to get out of this condition of uncertainty begins to negatively impact your various aspects of life. So, relationships, eating, fundamental functioning, such as sleeping, or even just the way that you see yourself. Anxiety is
Mm.
simply when you are in a condition of uncertainty. Just because you're anxious doesn't always mean necessarily that you're going to move into depression. Anxiety can move into anger, meaning that you find some way and feel some need to control the uncertainty. Anger just allows us to move what's uncertain and put it in positions by forcing others to change and move in how they're being addressed.
I see. That is very, very great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So with Sawa's question, at what point do I ask for help? And that was related to stress. At what point do I say that I'm stressed and I need help? When it comes to depression, I know that there are some skills that you can do, and there are things. And I also know that it is everybody gets sad, like you said. At what
Mhm,
point was it every two? If you consistently feel sad for 2 weeks, is that the accurate?
mhm,
But at what point would somebody say, okay, this is taking deeper than I expected? I'm not able to drag myself out of this and seek the clinical help needed.
mhm. And I'm a firm believer. There is, of course, the DSM-5 symptom of the 2 week period that you're looking at from a clinical dysfunction. But in
Okay.
terms of a more qualitative, just understanding and self awareness, I would say think about the depth at which this sadness takes place, because there's also what we will call functional depression, where you may not necessarily have the 2 week period, but you feel this deep sense of hopelessness, this deep sense of I'm not able to get out of it. And then somebody comes, or you engage with support people, and now all of a sudden it seems to vanish, but only temporarily. So I would be a little cautious, just given everything that's going on in the world. Also, some people may feel as though they're depressed, but they could actually be socially anxious, meaning that you're constantly concerned about how you're going to navigate your relationship with others. And that begins to make you feel sad, but you may not necessarily meet the other requirements of quote unquote major depression.
Yeah, I see. Thank you so much for that. I think we are ready for questions now. If anybody has questions, you can bring it up. When I use one screen, I have to like dig around to make sure that I can see everything. I don't always get everything showing on my platform here, so especially some of the pages from Facebook, so I always have to go back and forth a lot. But yeah, this is excellent. really, really appreciate this conversation, and I want us to keep talking about some of the practical steps. How do we deal with guilt?
Mhm,
When it comes to guilt, how do we stop looking at what people will say, what people will maybe the category they will put us in, and just ask for help.
mhm. So when I think about guilt, the first step I would say is ask yourself, what exactly are you guilty or feeling guilty about? What
Mm,
expectations are associated with that guilt? Whose expectations are they? Oftentimes those expectations aren't necessarily yours, and they may not necessarily have even been explicit, meaning they are cultural assumptions or social assumptions that you've internalized as, oh, I should act in this way, and now that's governing how you see yourself. So
mm,
sometimes guilt can be anger, but anger turned inward, which can also lead to depression because, again, think about the uncertainty. I don't feel comfortable figuring out how to navigate these expectations. I'm angry about it, but I'm afraid to get angry at somebody else. So then I get angry at myself. That begins to turn that anger inward. And then as I begin to digest that anger, now I'm starting to beat up on myself, and it grows into guilt, which can also grow into resentment towards others, which leads to isolation, furthering, you got it, this depressive state, because now I don't know how to get out of it. And I've now, unfortunately, created this mental prison that is all based on my perception of what's going on and what these expectations are.
yes, that's really good. Thank you so much for that. Okay, what if we have some employers listening to us right now? How can employers support their employees in this journey of I don't want to say becoming stress free, because we don't want to be stress free. We need some amount of stress to keep us
Mhm.
going on a daily basis. But what support can employers give to their employees?
Mhm. One of the easiest ones is clearly defined expectations that are explicit, meaning they're on paper, they're written down, and they're tangible, meaning that we can find them. That I would say are specific in terms of more of a MAPS goal. So if you think about measurable, attainable, specific, and positive, that allows them to be more tangible and more attainable. I would also say provide emotionally safe spaces within the workplace, meaning employee to supervisor. What does that relationship look like? What expectations? Let's also talk about consequences. Consequences are always the biggest anxiety point because people are uncertain of what's going to happen to me if I do mess up. But if you clearly define what would happen and what that process will look like, it then becomes clear, as well as walk people through an
Mhm.
example of what would it look like if this situation was to happen. That way everybody's on the same page. You take what's uncertain and you make it certain, while also developing rapport to provide more of that emotionally safe space.
I see. I see. Thank you so much. I hope the employers are listening too. Wonderful. So I want you to talk about an event I know is coming up or still in progress or going on. What is the blessed and stressed about?
Absolutely. So later today, we actually, Reclaiming Royalty and Healthy Minds, Healthy Indie, are kicking off a 6-week workshop series all about stress management. So
Okay.
really diving deep into what stress is, how does it affect you, how does it affect the body, how does it affect other people, and ultimately, what are all the steps I can do to really get out of it? And blessed and stressed refers to this old Christian mindset of I'm too blessed to be stressed. And
Mm,
so we're also going to incorporate Christian principles, values, and teachings from the Bible and bring it together to really talk about therapy and theology.
how lovely is that? I'm too blessed to be stressed. I know I've said it before. Forgive me, Lord.
I've said it too. I've said it too. I'm guilty too.
Acknowledging that we are human and we get to the point where we need help. And it's okay. It's okay to be stressed. Just find ways of getting yourself out of it before you get to the depression stage. What do you think?
You got it. That is a beautiful summary.
That's great. That's great. That's great. So I'm not sure if I'm missing the questions. I'm not able to get back into Facebook like I wish I would. So, friends on LinkedIn and YouTube, if you have questions, please let them flow. I would definitely be happy to respond. We have like 3 minutes of our scheduled time. Get your questions coming. I'm trying to move around like, where did they go? Where did they go? I'm not sure. So we'll just keep going. And friends, we will respond to questions even when we are not live. We will do well to respond to questions. Okay, I just saw one from Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam says, how do you manage home stress and work stress? Ooh, okay. The
Yeah, that's
balance
always
thing.
always a good one.
Please, this is yours.
Okay, so really quickly, so I would say, what are the expectations when you're at home? What are the expectations of work? Sometimes they are the same, but at different severities or at different depths. What are the requirements? And then what are the identities you are trying to maintain? Anxiety also happens when we're not able to maintain who we say we are and who we want to be. Who are you at home? How are you at home? And then what are all the expectations that accompany being at home? Ask those same questions, but then apply it to the workplace. As you begin to identify what these expectations are, start to reorganize them, identify what's realistic, identify what needs to be done, and then identify resources that can help maintain that plan. Also, affirm yourself as you put this plan into action because it can be really challenging as well as countercultural.
Mm, mm, mm. That's really, really, really good. Thank you so much for the question. And then we have another question from Efia. Efia says, how you help a spouse out of this depression. So I guess we can add friends and family to that. How do you help someone you really care for, you really love, out of depression?
So this one is a little bit of a tougher question. Only, and again, this is going to be more of a general statement.
Mhm.
So if there's anything that we can do personally, please feel free to reach out to me directly or reach out to Dr. G directly, and we can definitely help you. But in general, when you have a spouse who is dealing with depression, oftentimes we have to figure out, one, how can we help them feel a sense of safety where they can express those depressive thoughts and depression feelings.
Mm,
Sometimes when people are depressed, it doesn't always mean that they are going to be the stereotypical lounging around, I can't do anything, I don't have motivation. Like I said before, it can also be functional. So allow yourself to be that safe space for them to let out some of that, but also allow them to get these depressive feelings and get out. The more that they can actually be honest, the more of them that you'll actually see, and the more that they'll essentially begin to come alive again. As you support them, also help them when they're ready get connected to mental health professionals so that way all of the support isn't on you. Help ground them in some of the reality that they're still capable, they're still helpful. Help them identify what are the things that they are depressed about, how do they feel stuck, what they would like you to do, as well as allow them some sort of affirmation that doesn't drain you, because you also have to protect yourself.
yeah.
Compassion fatigue, even for caregivers, is also a real thing that can kind of manifest as a side effect of trying to support somebody with depression. And then just normalize conversations.
Normalize conversations. Uncle Sam, thank you too. So I've heard several people, if they have a family member, maybe die by suicide, they go like, I never saw anything. He was okay, she was okay. So I think that falls into the category you are talking about. It's not always that the person is stuck in the room, wouldn't want to come out, just I can't do anything, I can eat kind of thing. People are moving around every day and they are still struggling with the thoughts and they are still struggling with um stress. So if we can make our home a safe place where our children and our loved ones can open up, that will be great. So I think we'll take this question from Isaac. How do you know someone close to you is depressed when they seem well on the outside? Ooh,
So
okay.
for me, the best way I'll answer this is think about and help them identify what is the motivation behind all the things that they're doing. Believe it or not, high achievers can also be extremely depressed and not know it. That's part of the functional depression. So ask them, what are the motivations for why they're doing what they're doing? What are
Mm,
they trying to accomplish? And then in addition to figuring out what are they trying to accomplish, ask them, what does this cost you personally? So cost you emotionally, mentally, and so really help them identify those things. Now, if you're just simply observing, then that's a different position. If you're observing, then I would look for what are behavior trends. So what are observable things that they're doing that don't align with who they say they are or who they want to be. So if I say that I want to be, say, a physical trainer, but I never want to go to the gym, I'm always tired, I never leave the house, that
mm,
doesn't align with the identity that I'm trying to maintain or the goals that I've set. So any sort of behaviors that's in conflict, it could also be a subtle sign of depression. And then are they eating? Are they sleeping? How are they functioning?
I see. I see. Let's go ahead and share some resources with our thriving friends just in case anybody's looking for something at this point.
hmm So we have for the first resource, we have our reclaiming royalty. So again, we do individual therapy, workshops and trainings, consulting, motivational speaking. That is a resource. Shout out to Lawrence Bianco with Limelight Recovery. We also have the Well Counseling Group. So these are resources that do take insurance, with the exception of us. We are completely private pay at Reclaiming Royalty, but Limelight Recovery takes insurance. The Well Counseling Group also takes insurance,
Okay.
and you also have Psychology Today, which is a great resource for identifying therapy, both therapists in your state as well as your city. And then, of course, we have our stress management workshop later today at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is completely free. And if you do all 6 workshops, you will be receiving a $50 gift card, just as our way of saying thank you. So that is on Eventbrite and it is completely free. And so these are definitely some of the open resources that I know of.
That's great. And for the workshop, where would the link be?
So it is on my LinkedIn. It is also on the flyer. So if you go back to the flyer, you will also see that, as well as on my Facebook, and I can also tag you and put it in the comments as well. So we'll make sure to get it to people and make sure that we get it out.
That would be great. Thank you so much. So I love this. I want us to end with this that I saw on your page. And of course, we have to shout out your wife. She's part of everything you are doing. So that's great. So employees will perform more efficiently when they are supported fully by their employers. I love that. Can you say a little bit more about this and then we will end for the day?
Of course. So this ties into our consulting service. My wife and I, again, wellness consultants. And simply, this just means that when you think about the dynamic between an employer and an employee, it mirrors the exact same dynamic between a parent and a child. If you think
Mm,
about everything a child needs, the child needs to be encouraged, the child needs to be seen, the child needs to be understood, and given space to accomplish their goals in a safe environment. When employers can provide that same dynamic, they
mhm.
can create a space where their employees can thrive, no pun intended.
I see. Wow. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. I mean, this is a huge topic. We can't talk about everything in one sitting, but I think this is a good start talking about workplace wellness, managing workplace stress. And I hope that Thriving Friends, you will reach out, at least connect online, look up the resources he shared with us, and then let's keep thriving little by little. We will not be perfect, but we definitely have to be 1% better than we were yesterday, right? So I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. And like I always say, my friends, we want you to thrive and we want you to thrive holistically. I'm looking for my thing. Yes. Be well. We want you to be well and thrive holistically. So there'll be no live stream this Friday. I am on the road, but we appreciate that Michael was able to bring this to us, and we would look forward to see you same time next week for our live stream. Thank you for everyone who made this stream possible, Dr. AC and Uncle Ato. Uncle Ato, I didn't see you online. No, you know I'm coming to you. Aha. We appreciate all our friends for making this happen. I appreciate the host today, and I appreciate you, Michael, for joining us as well.
Thank you so much.
All right, thriving friends, we are going to end the live stream here. If anything comes up later, you can reach out to him directly on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on Facebook, or go ahead and drop the question. We'll be back to check them out. We wish you well and please thrive holistically. We love you. Bye bye.